On this week's episode, we have an interview with Randy Parker from DreamWorks. Welcome to episode number 352 of Destination Linux, your favorite video podcast. My name is Jill.
I'm Ryan.
And I'm Michael.
We're also going to cover tips and tricks, gaming, and so much more. Now let's get the show on the road toward Destination Linux.
Our community feedback this week comes from Vincent. He says, I'm following the show for years at this point and always love it. Thank you very much. And I think the good mood and you keep the gatekeeping to a minimum is great. That's referring to the idea of that some people don't want other people to join the community, and we are very welcoming. So appreciate that very much for those who didn't know what that meant. He also says that it's very important for the Linux community overall, and thank you so much. But I have a question. Specifically for Ryan's Gym Bro side. I restarted lifting a few months ago. As an Emacs user, I'm keeping my program and weights values in an org file. But I was wondering what kind of other Libre software or self-hostable solution exist and have been trying stuff, but by the team regarding sports stuff or weightlifting stuff. In particular, I'm looking for a convenient way to track calories and macros, hopefully with the least proprietary software possible. Any advice, specifically from Ryan Jimbro. And and he says, love y'all, especially Jill. Wait, what?
Why do they always have to put especially Jill in there?
Right.
Like, we know, okay?
It seems unnecessary.
We don't need you to put that. We just assume it's especially Jill, okay?
And he says, thanks again for the show. Greetings from Japan, Vincent. Thank you so much for the question, and also awesome that you're from Japan, and we get to know more and more about our audience and how, I guess, like 196 countries, right, Ryan? Something like that.
Last time we counted, 196 countries listened to this podcast.
Yeah. And this is wild. Proof, evidence, But we need to answer the question, especially because of the macros, whatever that is. So, Ryan, what advice do you have for Vincent related to your gym broness?
Gym broness. First of all, I love that. That cracked me up. One of the reasons, personally, I love working out is so I can eat whatever the heck I want without worrying about it. So I'm not somebody who pays super attention to every macro and nutrient and calorie that I put into my body. I actually like to enjoy food. And I know people, though, who are big into the fitness world who will watch everything they eat, and generally in competitions and things like that. I do notice, though, that the moment you start working out more, you end up paying more attention to what you eat. So while I say I like to eat whatever the heck I want, the reality is that as you start going to the gym,
has changed.
What I want has changed. Like, it has to have protein in it, lots of protein constantly. And generally,
there was this wonderful interview with somebody who's a celebrity. I forgot who it was, but he was talking about how he was going on a diet, and the person said, "You're going to be able to eat anything you want on this diet." And he said, "That sounds awesome." And then he got super mad at the guy who convinced him to take the diet, because now what he wants is different. And it is true, because he doesn't want any of the stuff he had before.
Exactly.
That's how they get you.
Yeah.
So I try, because diets can be very depressing for people. They go through them for so many years. And then I also tell people avoid the scale when you're starting to work out and things, because muscle weighs more than fat. You're going to see your body's, weight's not changing. And all of these things that we've kind of been told over the years, I think, create more depression than happiness. But you avoid bad foods, I think, as you start getting into fitness more and more, and it becomes more important for you to just make you feel better when you're going to the gym and things. I have to consume, for instance, 225 grams of protein a day. That doesn't leave a lot of room for anything else. Like, I'm already sick of eating by the time I've consumed that much protein. And so it's one of those things where by nature, you start cutting out a lot of the chips and junk and things. So personally, I don't watch a lot of what I eat from that aspect, other than how much protein is on the back of the bag. I mentioned my Garmin watch, and I have a video out there on the Garmin watch, the Venue 3. I track everything related to calories burned and my workouts all through the Garmin watch and app. It's very convenient to utilize because it does a lot of these things for you. Now, it does have a connection to something called MyFitnessPal in the Garmin app, which is one of the calorie trackers that have all of the preloaded foods in there from McDonald's and Zaxby's and everything else, so that whatever you're eating or even grocery items, you can check that and it's going to automatically count your calories, tell you what your macros are, all of those things, all the food facts you can look at. But it's proprietary. So you asked for something that was Libra free. So, Open Food Facts would be one that I would check out. This is an open source app that allows you to scan food for its nutritional value and also the environmental impact. And you could choose if you care about that or not. Some people do, some don't. That food particularly has that you're interested in. It's an open source app. It's available on F-Droid, for instance. I think it's more convenient to have something on your phone, which is why I'm talking about an app here, than necessarily on your desktop. Although what you're doing right now, if that works for you, in Emacs, just keep utilizing that for sure. Then there's waste.line, an F-Droid app for calorie tracking. So the app I talked about previously will give you any facts about any food. Think about that as your database. And then the waste.line is, hey, I want to track calories, nutrients, those type of things. That's one you can check out.
It's a combination suggestion thing.
I think so. One of the things I like about the open food is you're not getting obsessed with what you're putting into your body. You're just kind of getting the facts of that thing you're eating at that time, or to make a decision on what you're eating at that time. And like I said, if you're going to be a pro bodybuilder, then you probably need to know every single nutrient and fact about the food that's going into your body. If you just want to get fit and feel healthy and better, then I think just simply knowing what's in some of these things would be good enough. So my suggestion is to do that. I also, if I'm having a vacation or something and I want to track the nutrients that I have, maybe I'm bulking, so I'm going to be going more calorie rich, I'll just use Standard Notes as an app on my phone. I just find the apps a far more convenient option because your phone's always on.
Yeah.
So
I agree
that's my
with that.
suggestions.
As far as the apps thing, totally more so. I tried to do it on my desktop a long time ago. It's not good because then you have to remember where everything, or take photos of like the exercise bike results and then go in and manually type it in, and that's just annoying. And then you could have like these apps, or specifically the watches, have these new things where they can kind of, like how a credit card does a little tap system. You can do a tap system on these treadmills and ellipticals now that will send that data to your device or something. Or you can also do it with your phone and that sort of thing. So that's really cool, but you would need to do it in a mobile approach. I don't know what apps necessarily to do it for what particular equipment or any of that stuff, but I know it's possible and it's pretty cool. There is another one that's called Lose It, which is basically the same as MyFitnessPal, where it keeps track of the calories and it gives you the database of stuff. And it also is proprietary. So there's that. But I don't do the calorie counting that much, but I've also gotten into the workout more. And what's funny to me is that you were talking about how your diet, what you want to eat, has changed. And every single time I work out, when I'm going there, I don't want to do it. And then when I'm done, I feel better. I have energy, and I don't want to waste it by eating terrible food.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this weird thing where my body is kind of like tricking itself into eating right.
Yeah, you don't enjoy the taste of that food as much. And like one of the biggest guys at our gym, and when I say big, he is a freaking monster. In fact, the Marine Corps uses his picture on their posters to recruit people. That's how big this dude is. But in the middle of a workout, he'll order a full-size pizza and eat it right there. He does not, he's eating 10,000 calories a day. I burn in my workouts around 6,000 calories. And I work out 6 times a week. So I don't really care how many calories it has. I just want lots of protein and stuff that makes me feel good. But everybody's body is different. If I ate that full pizza, I would feel sick. And so you got to play with different foods and see what works for you, and then see what you're getting the most benefit out of. If you're wanting to cut,
a single pizza is not that much for a monster.
Yeah.
Okay.
True. And Ryan, I love these suggestions because I'm paying more attention of the ingredients of food now. Because there's certain things I can and cannot have. And this will be really useful. The open food facts. I'm going to be installing that.
Awesome. We helped Jill too.
Yeah.
That's a double win. Thank you, Vincent, for an awesome. Thanks, Jim Bro. Thanks for the awesome question and for the new nickname, apparently, that will.
And if you want some more information about fitness, check out our podcast about fitness called Fit and Fueled with Nicole. It is fantastic. And we'll have that linked in the show notes.
And that's an IFBB pro bodybuilder right there doing that podcast. So you get a lot of great advice there. So this episode is brought to you by NameCheap. Now, NameCheap is where we go to get all of our domains. And if you know anything about Michael, who's responsible for our domains, there's a lot of them. There's like a lot. And Namecheap is a fantastic place to go and get the domains you need to start your new business and start it cheaply. You can get URLs, you can do self-hosting, you can have WordPress set up for you, or you can just get the domain itself and set all that stuff up elsewhere. They have all kinds of options, whether you're a blogger, small business owner, you have big dreams on the internet. Well, Namecheap is the place to check out. So head to destinationlinux.net/Namecheap to get started and check out all the options that you have for starting your next big business, or even small business or blog or whatever it is. It's all there.
Whether you have a big idea or the next big business, the price is not big at Namecheap.
All right, so now we have a very special interview lined up. Thanks to Michael being at the Ubuntu Summit. He had a chance to interview DreamWorks, someone from DreamWorks. And Michael, DreamWorks, for those who may not know, I'm just kidding, everybody knows DreamWorks.
For those who doesn't know about one of the most important animation companies ever made, well, yeah, they know. So, and they also know that teamwork makes the dream work.
You just had to throw that in there.
That's good.
That joke there. All right, let's get into the interview. And Michael, this is about a month ago, so I've never seen this interview. I'm excited to hear it and see it.
I can tell you everything that's going to happen once we play the recording, because I don't remember what it is.
Yeah, because you've forgotten to. Because you haven't forgotten
what. I remember maybe 2 questions, and I don't remember the answers. It's been over a month, and I do remember the interview was awesome, though. So I'm excited for you to check it out.
And he's going to be talking about MoonRay probably too.
Oh, 100%.
Yay.
MoonRay. 007? MoonRay?
MoonRay as in the software that they open sourced at DreamWorks.
Oh.
For rendering.
And also the Eris software, which is related to database rendering with MoonRay. Yeah. I don't remember, but it's something like that. And it's really cool. And we talk about that. We also talk about how he got started with DreamWorks and his experiences and all sorts of stuff. It's a fantastic interview. Let's roll the clip. Hi, I'm here with Randy Packer from DreamWorks, and we're going to be talking about the work they do, and we're going to get to know Randy here. So, Randy, introduce yourself to the audience.
Hi, well, I'm Randy Packer, as mentioned, and I am a senior manager at DreamWorks. And I've been there for about 9 years, and I manage the rendering and shading teams, or the engineers that build MoonRay, along with our machine learning team and our farm team as well.
Nice.
For rendering.
So could you go into more detail about what MoonRay is? And also, I know that I covered it on This Week in Linux about it becoming open source, but I only covered it in like an overview style. Could you give more details about what that is for our audience?
Sure. MoonRay is our production path tracer. It's a ray tracer, or MCRT, Monte Carlo ray tracer. We developed it around 2013, 2012, 2013 is when we started it. We finally got it put onto a production in early 2018, which was How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, or Dragon 3, number 3.
Nice.
That was the first movie that we've done with MoonRay, and we've done every one of our feature films since using MoonRay. So it renders all of the final frames, all of the animation for our movies.
Nice. So it's becoming, is it the most critical piece of the rendering process, or is it?
It is absolutely the most critical piece of the rendering process, for sure. We are the core renderer, and we get used in multiple departments. So we're used in animation, and in modeling, and in lighting. As the artists iterate on their work, they just keep rendering and make changes, and render and make changes, and then eventually it comes off to make the final render. We do that, and we put all those together, and you have a movie at the end.
Nice. So what was the motivation behind open sourcing MoonRay? Because that's not something you would typically see from a Hollywood production.
Yeah. The motivation is a bit of desire on our part. We have open source things in the past. We enjoy sharing with the community and learning from the community. We don't view our technology as the area that we run a business. We view the making of movies and the stories that we tell as our business. So the technology just serves that business. And there's no need really to hide that technology. It's good technology. We're not selling it. We don't plan to sell it. So why not expose it to the world, let other people get to know it? Maybe a budding artist in school uses MoonRay, learns it, and then wants to come work at DreamWorks, you know, they already know the tool. That's always an advantage. There's a little bit of selfish motivations there, but it's not all selfish. I mean,
selfish motivation is not necessarily, it's not really selfish. Getting people the access to the software so that they can help work with you. I mean, that seems more, I guess in a way it's selfish, but you're also giving an opportunity for anyone who wants to do it. That's much more selfless, I think.
Yeah, we just felt like this was a nice thing to be shared with the community. We certainly enjoy seeing what the graphics and the open source community does out there, and we have learned from the past. And so when we wrote MoonRay, we did a ground up architectural rewrite of everything. We didn't take any legacy code, and we had learned from people who had come before us. We weren't the first studio to go to a ray tracer, but you know, other studios shared what their developments were. We develop ours, we share ours, and the community and the VFX industry as a whole just gets better.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So when you open sourced it, is it open source in the sense that the code is available and people can use it, or is it an open source in the sense that the code is available and they can contribute?
Both.
Okay.
They can use it and they can contribute, and it's an Apache 2 license, so they are free to do whatever they want, basically.
Okay, awesome. Sometimes people open source code and then they don't accept contributions because they want to create it themselves. I was just wondering if that's the same situation. So that's awesome to hear.
Yeah, we absolutely want contributions. We do have a contributor license agreement. We need to make sure that people, when they submit code, are submitting their own code. They're not, you know, that they actually own that code, that they can contribute it back.
And it's not from AI or something.
Exactly, exactly.
Yeah. The MoonRay system and is not the only thing you talked about here. You also did a talk just a minute ago about Eris. Could you give more information about that for our audience?
Sure. Yeah, Eris. So we open sourced a few things. We open sourced MoonRay is the path tracing renderer. We open sourced a set of shaders or geometry procedurals that we use for our productions. Which basically are they're plugins to the renderer, which can describe material and the look and everything like that. So we open source a set of those, and then we open source Eris, which is our computational framework, and it basically enables massive multi-machine distributed rendering. So on an on-prem farm or on a cloud service. So if you wanted to scale MoonRay up by adding more cores than are available on a single workstation, Eris enables that. If you want to build different workflows that artists would use, such as being able to view different frames within the same sequence of a shot and then manipulate the environment lights or manipulate environments to see how does the whole sequence look at one time rather than just opening up multiple frames, Eris enables that.
Nice. So curious about the open source aspect of it. So how much do you think of DreamWorks is using open source to accomplish the creating the movies? Is it just open source tools that you have, or is there also other tools that
we absolutely use other tools. Yeah. There's in the presentation I talked about a variety of different open source tools like OpenUSD, which is a universal scene description format that Pixar developed. It was recently, they made a foundation with Autodesk and Apple and NVIDIA and a couple others to standardize and promote that technology. That's key to us. MoonRay itself got a major contribution from Intel with an open image denoiser, which was quite good. We have open sourced at DreamWorks. We've open sourced OpenVDB, which is a volumetric data representation format.
Nice.
MoonRay includes that. OpenImageIO, yes. OpenColorIO. If you name it as something open, we probably used it from MoonRay, and we use it at DreamWorks.
Nice. Yeah. So I'm curious, what operating system do you use for the rendering farm stuff?
Right. So we are aligned with the VFX reference platform, which is a promoted set of versions of tools that are commonly used in the VFX industry. Many studios are on the VFX reference platform. So right now we're on CentOS 7,
Okay.
and we're moving to Rocky 9, and these are recommendations, and we need to make sure we have a number of different packages we have to work with in our pipeline, and it can be a fairly complex and challenging task to make sure that all of these things work well together for production, and you can hand over the data that gets output from one and input into the next.
Okay.
So it's nice to have this alignment where the whole industry has said, okay, these are supported software packages for a certain time span, and you can use that. So that's our basis.
Is there any particular reason why you chose Rocky over Alma?
It's just the VFX reference platform.
Okay. That's what they chose.
That's what they chose.
Okay, gotcha.
That was specified by them.
Okay, that makes sense. All right. So I was wanting to know more about the process of making the movies as well.
Sure.
So you said in the talk that it could be up to 4 years. Is that like the baseline, or is that just like the average? Or
I don't know that it's a baseline. It's about an average. Yeah.
okay.
4 years to produce the whole movie, from like script, green light to final product.
Nice. So I would assume it would take a lot of time to do it. So what is the most complicated part of that in terms of taking the most time? Is it the animation aspects of it, or is it the overall just research of technology and making sure that it can be possible?
Wow, that's a great question. I don't know that I can answer that specifically. There are so many different departments at play here. So there is an element of the research at the beginning, because once you've greenlit the film, you've got the script, and then concept artists come in, and producers come in, and they start describing, these are the guys who go off to various parts of the world, take pictures and say, okay, I want it to look like this or this.
Right.
They decide on a color palette for the movie, and they decide on lots and lots of look details. And so there's a research component involved in, like, okay, now that we know the look, does our existing technology stack, will it let us achieve that look, or what do we need to build or buy to get there?
I'm just curious, what is the percentage likelihood of that when you're making a movie, you already have the technology and don't have to make anything new? Like, how often does that happen?
I don't think that. I think we have to make something new every time. to greater or lesser extent.
Okay.
Not to massive extent. Not to the point where you're swapping out every single thing.
Yeah.
That would not happen. So we're talking about different geometry procedurals, or different ways to achieve some tweaking of the look, so you can make it look really stylized. If you saw Puss in Boots,
yes.
the most recent one, that looks very painterly. So we had to do a bit of research to see how are we going to achieve that painterly look with MoonRay.
So is there ever an issue of, like, say, for example, the difference between the Puss in Boots style from the first one to this one is drastically different, whereas the style of, like, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 1 and 2 are pretty much the same in terms of, like, how it looks. Is there any hesitation of changing that style so much, like for the Puss in Boots example?
Oh, that's not in my realm. So that would be along the producer and the director thinking about that. So yeah, I don't really know.
Okay, no problem. These questions are kind of coming off the top of my head as
no, it's no problem.
Okay.
I mean, back to your earlier question about, is there some areas that require more effort or less effort? I mean, research is one, but the standard things you would have in any animated feature film is just creating the models. Is a significant portion of the movie, and then doing the rigging is a significant. Animation, very important, and then lighting. These are all the stages in the film that we have to go through.
Like I've seen some behind the scenes of how you do certain pieces and especially like demonstrating what MoonRay can do. There's a lot of that sort of stuff, and then there's also behind the scenes of some of the animations and how often is it storyboarded versus is it like the terms of, I forgot what the term is, but they have the CGI version of what they want to be, and it's like a very rough cut,
like a previs.
Previs, that's what it is. Yeah.
Right.
So how often do you do a previs versus like a drawing animation storyboard kind of thing?
We do both. We do the storyboard starts out first, and then we do previs, and then we get into the more final lighting kind of thing. I've definitely been into the early cuts of films, and it's a mix. Sometimes you'll be watching 10 minutes of just the storyboards with the voice track, and then they'll have the next 2 minutes are already done in previs. So now the next 2 minutes are shown in previs, and then the next 5 minutes might actually be close to final lighting. So it depends on what they're working on in the sequence of the film.
Do you know roughly how many people are involved in making a single film for DreamWorks?
That is a great question. Gosh, I don't really know. It's a few hundred. I think on the production side of the film, DreamWorks itself is just a bit shy of 2,000 people. But we have multiple productions going on at any time, so I think it's a few hundred per film. Okay. On the production side, the technology tends to stay static for all the films. Okay. Which is where MoonRay sits. We're on the technology side. We're not bound to a specific production. We work for all productions.
Nice.
I will say that I think our artists are amazing. If you look at our credit rolls on our movies, I think our movies just really stand out very well in terms of visual look and everything. But the credit roll is kind of shorter than you would see in other films. So I think our artists just do amazing work, and we have really good tools to support them to do it.
Oh yeah, I mean I love pretty much every movie I've seen from DreamWorks. I haven't seen all of them, but I want to. And the recent Bad Guys one was a very fun one. Yeah. And there's quite a few that I would like to see. And I actually just saw Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs 2 like a week ago. And I actually didn't know there was a second one. So when I saw it, oh, no, I have to watch this. Yeah. And I like the fact that most movies, whether they're animated or not, especially if they're not, but even animated, where they give you like a sequel, and the sequel starts 4 years later. This is 5 seconds later. Yeah. That's actually okay. I want to see this.
Yeah, that's a cool trick. Yeah,
I like that. I like the animation gives you that option, and I'm glad that y'all went with that.
Yeah.
So when it comes to software development and it comes to animation and creating a movie, you said it takes 4 years to do it, but in that period of time, MoonRay probably has hundreds of improvements and software releases, and how do you deal with the amount of speed it takes for the movie to be made versus the amount of speed it takes for the software to be made, because there's such a dichotomy there? How do you compensate? Is it this when the movies, are they locked on a particular version, or do they gradually update?
Right. So there's a couple of things involved there. So MoonRay development itself, if we're talking about features can take a little while to develop. Although we do, as a team, we have continuous integration, and we release internally to our clients every week, so once a week. We involve ourselves very heavily with the production, especially early on in the early look dev, because that's when they're trying to figure out how are they going to achieve this look. Does the look need to be done in render in MoonRay, or do they do it in post, in compositing, with Nuke or something? And we work really closely at that stage with them to figure out, okay, what are we going to do in MoonRay, and start developing those features early. And then at some point, the show basically tech locks. They basically say, okay, we've developed our look. Our look is good. We know it's going to work. So we're going to tech lock. I'm going to stay on this one version of MoonRay until the end of the show. And then we're going to finish our production on that version. Okay. And then at that point, once they're tech locked, we're not developing new features for them anymore. We're just making bug fixes if they need.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So how many versions at any given time are you actually maintaining for this kind of thing?
We basically have one tech lock version, and all the other future shows are early enough on that they are taking the weekly releases as we go.
Okay, so at any given time, there's only one movie that is in the tech lock section.
Right.
Oh, okay, that's cool. Right. So that's very structured to make sure that timing is set up that way. Okay. So you're talking like, when you say tech lock, you're talking like a feature freeze.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
All right. So that's very interesting, because I was wondering, like, how could you have something that in the open source world, the software development world, 4 years is like a decade.
Yeah.
And or even more so.
Yeah.
And so I was very curious how that handles.
Yeah. We have to, at some point, we have to freeze the feature set for a given production. So we don't, there's a potential that we could destabilize them if they keep taking new features.
Right. That makes sense. So I just want to kind of move on to more of like what you do at DreamWorks. So could you give more details about like how are you involved in, like you said, you're managing the different departments. What is it like in like a day in the life of Randy?
Great question. I have a computer science background, but I don't have a graphics background. So when I joined DreamWorks, I didn't know anything about rendering, and I got solicited to come in by a former director in the technology that I had worked with.
Nice.
So I had to learn rendering as I went along. I think there are some advantages to that in that I rely very much on the team itself to say, hey, we think this is important and everything. And then I get them to explain it to me in a way that I can understand. And then I basically am pretty successful about building a supportive and trusting environment where the team can do these things and not be interrupted all the time with whatever crisis that might come up.
Nice.
I guess, I don't know, my value there is really giving the team the room to do their best work.
Of course. Like it's
without
giving support.
Yeah. Without micromanaging.
That's the best kind of the best example of like a good leader is someone who allows you to develop your stuff rather than trying to tell you what to do.
Exactly. I don't try to tell them what to do. I will chime in with an opinion and say, well, this versus that. At some points, there might be some conflict to say, oh, well, we should do this, but then we don't have the resources to do this. And I say, well, let's talk it out a little bit. And if it does need to be a hard line decision, then I have to come in and say, okay, let's do this. Nice. Other than that, I do try to keep myself very much, I keep it in the back of my mind, like what kind of value am I providing to the team? So our team is one of the things that I always take as a good philosophy is just own your own stuff. So we take care of our own release processes. We write our own documentation. We don't have external teams to do that. We have basically a list where we just kind of, go through the list and circular through doing a release every week. I do the releases too. So nice. I definitely try to own as much as I can as what the team owns. So I don't try to push it all on them. I step up and do it too.
That's awesome. So this last question about DreamWorks, I'm curious, what would you say is your favorite part about working at DreamWorks?
Oh, that's an easy one. So we get to go, we have these friends and family screenings when a movie is about to be delivered. And a lot of people will bring, they can bring some guests, they'll bring their kids and everything. And I love going to see our movies where all these families have brought lots and lots of kids. And then the kids are just loving the movies. They love the Trolls Band Together. It just came out. That's a musical, and the kids are in the aisle dancing. And I love feeling connected to that final product, right? I know a lot of companies will talk about, well, this impacts, has massive impact or massive scale and everything. And that's true, and that's kind of cool. But with DreamWorks, with our films, I can actually be in the theater and see that kid love the film. They just love it. And that's really cool. That combined with, I get to work with the artists and, make them a better paintbrush. And then they make this really great art.
That's awesome.
That's kind of cool too. So I have really direct connection, I feel, to the product. And then to how the audience actually receives that product. That's great. I love that.
I love that answer, especially like seeing the kids enjoy it is. I didn't even think about that, but like basically you're creating something to have people enjoy and be happy about, and being able to actually see it happen, especially with children. That sounds amazing.
Yeah, we're here to entertain. And it's great to see when people are entertained. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. So let's talk about the summit just for a little bit. So what would you say is your favorite part so far about the summit?
Oh, I like all the tinkering bids.
Oh, the workshops.
The workshops to the Ubuntu Summit, and just kind of seeing how they're applying it in various types of hardware, or see it like, okay, we've got these Linux phones, and we've got, some of the other stuff. I don't know what I can say about the summit here that's coming up, the stuff that's happening tonight, but seeing all of these applications of
I'm pretty sure it's okay to say, because I think it's
the submarines, powered, and also there was a talk about repairing your laptop and reusing the technology and continue to reuse that in the future. I think that's great, because I am a little bit green-minded. I do appreciate that we have the right to repair and to fix and to use our stuff. Open source kind of ties in with that. It's your right to see the software, see how it works. When they tie that together with the hardware, I think that's the coolest bits.
Yeah.
Honestly. Yeah.
So we're about halfway through the second day. Are there any more talks that you're looking forward to attending?
I need to check the schedule. I saw a bunch of talks that were pretty interesting, but I need to check the schedule.
Yeah, me too. Honestly, that's the best answer, because there's so many. And even though I have it on my phone in my calendar, I still forget what it is. I forgot what time mine was until like last night. Like, oh, I'll have to check this to make sure.
Right.
Because you can't miss your own talk.
Right.
I was almost late. It wasn't.
I did the same.
I think it happens. And I was talking to everybody I was talking to. I mentioned how my talk was not done yet. And I think 90% of everybody who's doing a talk said they were like, I haven't finished it either. It happens.
Yeah.
But
online.
Yeah, exactly. So if in terms of like a general sense of open source, what do you personally use that is exciting for you in that space?
Personally, in the open source world, I've used Ubuntu since 5.04.
Nice.
And
I think that was earlier than I did.
Yeah, that was quite some time ago. And the presenter in the opening plenary, he talked about his experience when he tried it, and it's like, oh, maybe there's something here. I felt really connected to that, because I was like, yeah, that was exactly the situation for me. I thought that was pretty cool at the time. And but otherwise, most of my time is just kind of spent either at work or in other pursuits. So,
right. But it's funny, because when you were saying at work, I was thinking like, if you're doing something like that, you enjoy it and you want to spend more time doing it. Because it's a lot of times when I've had people would say that they're doing something at work, and it's like, oh, I don't want to be there. But when you love the thing you're doing, it's that's just it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So you said you're using Ubuntu 5.04?
Yeah.
Was that your first access to Linux, or first experience with Linux?
No. I'd used Debian before that, but then Ubuntu came along, and I was like, wow, this actually just works. And it's easy. It was easy to use at the time. So,
yeah, exactly.
So that was my first experience using Linux, where I thought, oh, this is great. I actually got it to run on a laptop. That was fantastic at the time. That was a long.
I had a similar experience
20 years ago. Yeah.
I had a very similar experience. I also had Debian before, and I used Mandrake before too. And there was I accidentally did something when I was a teenager, when I was first installing Linux in the 90s. There was you had to specify what kind of monitor you had by the hertz. And I learned that if you put the wrong hertz in, you would have destroyed your monitor.
Yeah, right, sure.
And I didn't know that at the time, and I got lucky and picked the right one.
Oh, good.
And someone told me in an IRC room, hey, you could have done this. And then you have Ubuntu, and it's just everything is for you. And especially now, it's basically like the difference between now and then is light years.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So it's interesting that you're in the Linux space for that long. Did you ever try out other distros, like distro hop around? So not just Ubuntu, but something else?
Yeah, at one point, I worked for a company that actually got bought by Red Hat.
Oh.
Yeah, so we were on Red Hat for a little while.
Nice. So I assume that you're using a mix of everything at DreamWorks. Of like when you're talking about the workstations at DreamWorks, I would assume like there's Windows involved, Mac involved, and Linux.
No, we're strictly Linux.
Fantastic! I love to hear that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. So I think that's pretty much most of the questions I have, but I want to do like a quick lightning round of silly questions.
Sure,
that's what we do.
Okay.
And so the first question is it's actually a running joke in our podcast Destination Linux because I don't even remember why, but a while ago my co-host and I had a conversation and actually a debate over cupcakes versus muffins. And one of us likes cupcakes, and the other one prefers muffins. They're okay. They're both good. Okay. But like, which one would you prefer? Like, if you had to choose only one, would you pick a cupcake or a muffin?
Oh, definitely muffins.
Okay, fantastic. Told you. So I pick muffin.
Muffins are the way to go. I will not pick a cupcake.
Perfect. Okay. So the next one is. Do you, at work, do you utilize a stool for like an active sitting of like an ergonomics thing?
A stool?
Yes, a stool.
We have the Aeron chairs, basically.
Okay, that's it still has a back.
But I did. I don't have it right now, but I used to have a stool next to me for people, for somebody to come by and sit with me at the desk.
Well, I'll take that. So there's another ridiculous thing that we did.
Okay.
It's about a stool. I bought a stool one time for $9 on like a Black Friday sale. And he gave me a hard time about, you can't decide whether to sit or stand. You need something that's halfway. Like, it's still valuable.
Stools are very valuable. Yeah. I'm looking enough, DreamWorks is quite nice. We all have sit-stand desks. So you just raise it up and stand up.
Exactly. Those are fantastic.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the most controversial questions. You can also say no comment if you want to. In terms of like the geek world, Star Trek or Star Wars?
Oh, for me it's Star Trek. Yeah,
I agree. It's my favorite too.
Yeah.
Star Wars is good, but it's not Star Trek. Yeah.
Star Wars is good. I'm old enough where I was the ideal age when the very first Star Wars came out. I was 8, and I thought the first 3 movies, well, at least the first 2 movies, 3 too, were fantastic. And then the universe just expanded in ways. And I was like, oh, okay, I'm not that kid anymore. It's a different story.
And also it's been poorly made since.
Yeah. Yeah. Star Trek, on the other hand, is just fantastic. And they have so many different good seasons and different versions of it. So, yeah. Love Star Trek.
Okay, yeah, I agree. The only exception is Voyager, really.
You don't like Voyager?
Voyager is now good when you compare it to Discovery and the first 2 seasons of Picard.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So I'm okay with Voyager.
I haven't finished watching all of Picard yet. I've watched the first season of Picard.
So season 3 is actually very good. When people had told me it was going to be good, and I okay, sure, whatever. And then I tried it. And it's very good. It's not amazing, but it's what the first 2 seasons should have been. It actually treats the characters how you expect them to be, and how like the older versions how they would be, and they do it that way. Whereas the first 2 seasons, it just seems like random nonsense that makes no sense. Like it's just, I even like. I'll tell you a spoiler after if someone's watching if you want to know. But I was very disappointed at the end of season 2 because it was pointless.
Oh, well, don't spoil it for me. I haven't watched it yet.
Okay.
I will say though, I was pretty pleased. I went to one of the SciTech Academy Awards ceremonies, and Patrick Stewart was the host.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, oh, this is great. Yeah. It's Captain Picard.
That's awesome. Yeah. There's a friend of mine who's here at the summit who's also helping with some of the production. He says that. Not just Patrick Stewart, but Jean-Luc Picard is like his TV dad, and he still watches it every once, like not every night, but like often. Like, yeah, I agree. It's fantastic. Yeah. But so the last question is it's technically also the same kind of level of Star Wars, Star Trek. It's Marvel versus DC.
Yeah, that's a good one. I like Marvel. I prefer Marvel.
Yeah, I'm referring to the comics themselves, or the characters in general, I guess. Doesn't have to be anything, movies or anything specific. It could be just the overall concept.
Yeah, if you're relating to the comics, actually, I didn't read very much Marvel or DC comics, so then I would have to say I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I also prefer Marvel over DC anyway. I was just curious,
Yeah.
But I appreciate your time. If there's anything else you'd like to let everybody know about in terms of like DreamWorks or...
No, I think I'm good. I think please try out MoonRay. We're happy to have shared that with everybody.
Yeah.
We're really, it'd be kind of awesome to see what people can do with it.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to continue to use it for animated movies, but in my talk, I talked about there are so many other applications that you could do with this. Yeah. We've certainly tested 3D printing and VR and motion capture and just inventing new workflows using it. We're eager to see what other people can do. Yeah. Even if we don't use it, it's like just cool. It's like, we started this and look, somebody did something really cool with it. That's awesome.
That would be really awesome to see. Yeah. And the amount of things you can do with it, I didn't even know about some of those when you were talking about it. And for those who were not able to watch the live stream, you can find a link in the show notes for the talk that's going to be edited on the Ubuntu On Air channel. Thanks for joining me with this interview, Randy. I appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
And good luck, and I can't wait to check out the next DreamWorks movie.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Have a good one. This episode of Destination Linux is sponsored by LINBIT. LINBIT has been keeping digital businesses running for over 20 years. They're the makers of open source products like DRBD, which is high availability software that has been part of the Linux kernel since 2010, and LINSTOR, industry-leading open source software-defined storage. LINBIT has an active presence in the open source community, and they collaborate with the community to help identify and build new features. LINBIT provides enterprise-grade software that runs on a variety of platforms and OSs without vendor lock-in. What that means is that you could use the software on any platform, including specific hardware that you want to use, or just off-the-shelf hardware that you get and connect it. All of this stuff can be interchanged really easily. And with DRBD and LINSTOR, you can have high-speed replicated block storage in almost any configuration, whether it's Kubernetes, Apache Cloud, or OpenNebula. There's even DRBD proxy for long-distance replication. LINBIT is run by its founders to this day, and all of its engineers and developers are in-house with offices in Europe and North America, which allows them to have global 24/7 support to complement their enterprise offerings. Visit linbit.com to learn more about the people behind LINBIT and the awesome software for block storage, duplication, and more.
And since we just talked to Michael Sweet and Till over at Open Printing in last week's episode, I thought it would be fun to tell you about a game where you try to print a document on a printer. It is a print simulator called Printersim.
Of course, there's a print simulator.
Yes.
I mean, who wouldn't have thought of this? Now, Ant Simulator, I get. That was a lot of fun. I love that game.
Yeah.
There was, Sim City.
Yeah,
that one
Sims,
makes sense.
All the Sims.
Roller Coaster Sim.
That's
but
one
I
of my
never
favorites.
thought, you know what I want to simulate? Printing.
Yeah.
Printing would be fun to simulate. This is going to be exciting. Tell us more about this, Jill.
This is actually a brilliant game. It's really well done. And the developer on Steam states, in this point-and-click resource management sim, you only have 2 weeks to print a report off for work. You have no ink, no money. Now get to it. That report isn't going to print itself. And this game actually may echo rage on a printer, like in the classic movie Office Space. You may want to take a bat to the printer or give it a kick.
Well, the question is that like a bonus round where you can attack the printer in this sim? That would be awesome.
Yeah.
And it's called Office Space mode.
Yes. That would be great, Michael. Great idea.
If you haven't
made an add-on
game,
for them.
people, I would request DLC for that particular mode. Thank you.
Yeah. And the developer also says there is strong language, references to self-harm, references to alcohol abuse, mild cartoon gore, and some flashy imagery.
I mean, for a printer sim, I get why.
Yeah.
Printers are very frustrating. And, I don't know why you'd simulate this, but I do find it funny that this person, I feel like, that made this game was in the workforce in the 80s and 90s and not recently. They've just been making games recently. The reason I say that is because it says you have a week to print a report for your work. And in the current corporate environment, you might get 20 minutes to do something that takes 5 hours, maybe an hour to do something that takes 2 days.
In this case, you would get about 45 seconds.
Yeah, exactly. Like, nobody gives you a week anymore to do anything.
Yeah. So true, Ryan.
Yeah.
And they get mad at you for not fulfilling the thing that's impossible.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We want you to make that print report print out right now in 10 minutes or you're fired.
But boss,
if you
there's
could
no
bring
ink.
that TPS report and put it on my desk.
Yeah. So what's really cool about Printersim is the intro is really cool. I know Ryan is going to love this intro, and Michael. It almost has a Matrix type feel with there's a transition from a holodeck type blank room to a 16-bit room in a house with a computer workstation and printer on a desk, and a classic telephone continually ringing. Bring back memories of Matrix.
Yes.
And naturally, you click on the phone, then a dialogue comes up with several options to click on, and I actually chose "Where am I?" And it answered.
Sounds like what Michael does when I call him. Yeah. He picks up the phone. Where am I? I don't know. No, that sounds like me calling you, actually, because I'm always lost.
That is 100%.
Hey, Michael, where
you.
am I?
Because I'm more likely to know where you are than you are.
Yeah, exactly.
True. And the game answered, currently, your brain is suspended in spinal fluid, and it's in a state of the art simulation designed to capture the frustration of printers.
Man.
I would be more frustrated with the idea that my brain is suspended in spinal fluid.
Yeah, scary.
Like, what do you mean by this? Is it my spinal fluid?
Or someone else's. So the puzzles and point and click elements are actually very beautifully executed, and the sound effects and dialogue actually really put you in the printer death trap scenario.
Death trap.
And Printersim offers loads of fun hours of gameplay and frustration, of course. LOL.
I always look for in a game. Love it.
And you can grab Printersim for $9.99 on Steam and download a demo that works on Proton out of the box. So,
it has printer death traps, which I assume are paper jams and paper cuts.
Yes.
Paper cuts. Oh, man.
That was my word for the paper jam.
Death trap is a paper jam.
The death trap, yeah.
Well, now we're going to go from printers to sound, Jill, in our software spotlight.
And we can combine the two with dot matrix plus the reference. See where I get it. It's full circle.
Yes,
full circle, people.
Yeah, good job.
Good job, Michael. And in this case, it needs to be a color dot matrix printer. This is Coppwr. So Pipewire has been a game changer for Linux audio and has provided a much more powerful and simple to use advanced audio solution, as we've been using here on the show.
Yes.
But still, there are times when us Linux hackers want to get into the nuts and bolts and do something extra. So our software spotlight this week is Coppwr. It's actually spelled Coppwr.
So it's Coppwr.
Yeah, Coppwr.
Coppwr.
And
Coppwr.
in today's world, you can actually use printers to print out copper. So
that's true. Oh, yeah, the 3D printers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Coppwr.
Coppwr.
Can you print out Coppwr?
Yeah. So Coppwr is a tool that provides low-level control over the Pipewire multimedia server. It aims to expose and provide as many ways to inspect and control the many aspects of the Pipewire multimedia server as possible. And it can be used as a diagnostic tool for Pipewire and to help develop software that interacts with it. And some of its features are node graph editing, which is awesome, object inspection, creation and destruction, process monitoring and profiler statistics, metadata editing, module loading, connecting to XDG desktop portal remotes, and there is so much more they're going to be adding. So Coppwr is available as a flat pack over at flathub.org, as a deb and RPM packages, or on the AUR.
You know what I like about being on BlendOS? That when they list out all of the available packages, I could literally use any of them.
That's
RPM, okay. Deb, sure.
That's awesome.
AUR, okay. FlatHub, yep. Like that's
You know
the
what I
joy
like
of
about
Blend
you being on BlendOS? You stop
What's that?
talking about Arch as much.
Yeah,
And that's nice.
that is nice.
That is
How
nice.
is that nice?
No, I'm
Yeah.
kidding. I'm kidding. I love Arch.
Arch is the greatest distro. I mean,
Arch is good.
BlendOS
I love Arch.
absorbed the greatest distro into it. Like it's the infinity gauntlet of distros. So it's got everything, you know?
Yes.
Well, my point is, like, if you're not on BlendOS, then you have to be like, oh, darn, I don't have the ability to install a deb or an RPM.
But this particular has everything. So you're
Shut up, Michael. My point is how amazing
if you
BlendOS
want Coppwr, you're fine.
Coppwr.
It's going to be
I can get Coppwr a million different ways.
You can get it. You can get Coppwr with the RPM and with the deb, and you can get on a flat hub as well.
You must be talking about Coppwr.
Coppwr.
Is that your tip and trick how to pronounce Coppwr, Michael? By chance?
Oh, that would be wonderful. But no, I have another tip.
Okay, good.
I feel that's so ridiculous. Anyway,
yeah.
While we love sharing awesome tech with our community, we also recognize everyone is in a different financial situation. You know, whether you use Dinero, like we talked about last week, or you do it in a spreadsheet, which I do. And I actually feel like it's a good option. But this is not necessarily about a tip of the week for finance because we've already done that. We're going to be talking about holidays and how it's kind of tough depending on what situation you are financially because there's so many different great ideas. There's so many great gift guides like our episode last week. You can check out. We'll have in the show notes. But there's also things you can do that don't really cost anything. You can just use your talents to make gifts for your loved ones. If you're an artist, you can draw a picture, make a comic book, or paint or do something that's, you know, pretty cool. And if you have like a 3D printer, you could build basically anything. You can go to these like CAD sites and anything within your constraints of the 3-inch by 3-inch thing.
Well, depending on your printer, you know,
or the constraints of your 2-inch by 2-inch bed of the printing. Stop ruining my.
Not all of them are just 2 inches or 3. I mean, you could have a 6-inch, a 12-inch 3D printer. You could have
a but I'm saying the constraints are just whatever you have, and whatever material you have to use.
Yeah,
and you're being a party pooper. And
sorry. But router wall mounts, tool holders, speaker mounts, things like look around, like family loved one has like Sonos speakers or something. You could actually make shelves, plastic shelves. I made a router holder for my Alien Amplify router system that holds it up onto a wall, and it's all 3D printed and matches the wall perfectly. And like you could do all kinds of cool things that would be dope.
You can even do things like, for example, create your own erector set game thing. Like, you remember those erector sets?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You could probably print your own stuff because just like, you know.
Yes, you could. You can make all the cogs and the poles.
You know, cogs and stuff.
Yeah, you didn't hear this from me, okay? You didn't hear this from me, but there was a time where I was missing a Lego piece, and just turns out you can actually 3D print that missing piece if you find the right instructions online and make your own little Lego.
You didn't hear that from him, though.
You didn't hear that from me, though, people. Don't say you heard that from Michael. My name's Michael.
So another thing you could do is make some cool software for someone. Like if you wanted to have like a special thing that's just a message that says something, you know, that you're thankful for them or something like that. Or you could do something where you could be more elaborate and make it something for your family to open on Christmas together, you know, just something cool like that. And you could even do things like write a song and don't sing it if your name is Ryan and on the show.
I'm going to write a song for you, Michael.
And then
I can think
the point is
explicit. Let's just put
even if money is tight, there's a lot of things you can do with your talents. And you might not think that you have the kind of talents that needs to be used to do this sort of thing, but there's so many different ways anyone can do any of these kinds of things. There's so many different variables that you could use that you probably have something, and unless your name is Ryan. And then, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
Okay. If your name is Ryan and you're not on this show, you're probably okay. But
I'm going to give everyone in my family circle Crocs because everyone deserves.
No, you're not. How dare you? You're giving them Joy Bees.
Joybees. That's right. Joybees.
And Michael, I'm going to make a piece of software for Ryan and just call it Ryan AI. So then we'll have the
No, that was my gift to Michael.
Yes. Thank you so much,
By the
Jill.
way,
do this.
That's a great example. I wrote for Michael because he's I won't say good friend. He's just like a person I know. And
We're acquaintances on the show. Yeah.
And with it talk 8 times a week, but
all the time.
Yeah. Totally not friends or anything.
No, not at all.
No, never claim that. I wrote him software as a gift. It was Michael AI. It took me near years.
It was a lot of time. But also, I just want to point out to people,
couple hours.
When he said that we're not friends, it's very clear by Michael AI that we're not, because it is basically just trolling me the entire time.
Yeah.
So for those who are curious,
I can't control the AI. I wrote it and let it loose, and that's what it did.
You can't. You know? It's a very simple AI, people. It does one thing and one thing only: troll me. That is it. So if you want to check out Michael AI, it's still on GitHub, apparently, I think, and it's also free software.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
you released it. You licensed. We talked about licenses previously. Yeah. It's not under something that's going to be.
I gave it to the world
fully. Yeah. So
it's kind of
he's so generous at trolling
the world.
Right.
You think about gift giving. You're welcome, world. You're welcome.
If you want to make your own insult AI to your friends, check out Ryan's project.
Yeah, you could steal
and fork it and make your own version.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, you know what I did when I was a starving student? I made my family animations. I spent hours and hours, and I did animations specifically.
Not all of us are that talented, Jill. I can't. Okay. So, well, I would. What I'll do is I'll draw out the picture I want to make for somebody
and stick figure and do it like a picture book.
Give it to Michael and be like, hey, this is what I'm going to give my wife. And then he'll be like, please, God, don't. And then fix it for me and make it cool. And then I'll gift it.
So that his gift would be my talent.
Yes. I'll gift your talent. Yeah.
Perfect.
So speaking of me and Michael talking to each other, we're going to have to talk to each other and hang out all the time at Scale 2024, which is scheduled for March 14th through the 17th at the Pasadena Convention Center in Pasadena, California. We will be there with Jill, complete with our Crocs and Joybees, whatever you want.
We're going to be speaking to each other. Imagine that.
Imagine that. We'll probably talk to each other. We'll hang out, and you can hang out with the entire DL crew.
You can speak with us too.
Yeah.
If you're not wearing Crocs.
Hey, but I
mean, if you're wearing Joybees.
Hey,
Joybees is fine.
We'll make sure to have some Tux Penguins giblets for their Crocs.
Giblets. Oh, yeah, those little things you plug in the hole. Those are called giblets.
It's so funny because I have a collection of penguin ones, but I don't have Crocs. I just like the little giblets.
That's cute. That's pretty cute. Everything Jill does is cute. All right. So this is where you can hang out with all of us. There's preparations underway, all kinds of awesome things going on at Scale 2024. You want to be there, basically. At the end of the day, just be there. Go to Scale. You get to hang out with us. Jill will be there. Your favorite anyways, especially Jill. Especially Jill will be there. So you can come hang out with especially Jill there as well. We should have an especially Jill t-shirt.
We should have an especially Jill t-shirt.
Yes, that's the new shirt. Especially Jill. Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Well, a big thank you to each and every one of you for supporting us by watching or listening. However you do it, we love your faces. And come join us. Hang out in our Discord at tuxdigital.com/Discord. Hang out with a bunch of people from the community. People you already know like the same things you like because you like this show. And so you already got something in common with everyone. It's like a perfect place to hang out and make new friends.
Perfect place. Speaking of making new friends, you can do so by becoming a patron, which you get access by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. And you can do that by going into the patron-only section of our Discord server that Ryan was talking about, because we have lots of cool places that you can talk about various different topics in the Discord server. And also you can meet other patrons there as well, which is just fantastic. And there's so many benefits you can have. So you can watch live. You can watch unedited versions of the shows if you can't make the live version. But if you can make the live version, you can also join us in the patron-only post show that happens every week after the show. You can get all of this by going to tuxdigital.com/membership. And speaking of things that you can do to help this show, you can go to tuxdigital.com/store and pick up some awesome swag, including maybe eventually or soon, hopefully, the Especially Jill shirt, as well as other things like hats, mugs, hoodies, stickers, and so much more. You can go to tuxdigital.com/store to get those.
And make sure to check out all the incredible shows here on Text Digital. That's why, right, we have an entire network of shows to fill your entire week with awesome geeky goodness. Check out The Pseudo Show, which covers topics ranging from open source and business through to deep dives into complex technologies. And everyone head to textdigital.com and subscribe to all our incredible shows. And don't forget to leave a rating on your favorite app so others can discover the power of open source and keep those penguins marching in the full Monty of Linux and open source awesome sauce. Everybody have an awesome week and have a happy holidays and a wonderful new year.
We should have said, good job. Yep. We forgot about saying happy holidays. And this episode came out on a particular day.
Yeah.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays. And remember that the journey itself is just as important as the destination.
Yay.
See you next week, everyone, technically, because we have another episode where we're recording an interview and you're going to see it's really cool. And we'll see it.